The newest on the road. The latest on the trend. Don't miss out with Ron De Los Reyes. Auto Review. Ang maaksyong mundo ng mga Pinoy na pulis sa Amerika. Go Undercover kasama si Ben Tulfo. Pinoy US Cops Ride Along. Sabado, alas 7:30 ng gabi.
Welcome back, and you're still watching Schoolmates.
Yes, Hesa. Alam mo ba, Hesa, sa puntong ito, ibibigyan na natin ng pagkakataon ang team leaders para ibigay ang kanilang final statement sa ating talakayan ngayong gabi. Go ahead, Jose.
Okay, before I start my closing statement, I want to refute what the opponent said earlier, that the law is given that if a politician has an ability to read and write, that's a ground, that's it. Pero sagutin ko lang, bakit? Sapat na ba itong batayan upang maging politiko ka? Di ba dapat iniintindi mo rin yung binabasa mo at sinusulat mo? Iniintindi mo rin yung binabasa at sinusulat mo. Then, bakit natin bibigyan ng negative thinking itong political service exam kung marami naman siyang kalakip na positive thinkings and positive effects? Then, pinupunto ng kabilang grupo na dapat i-educate natin ang mga botante para, at ito ay mas importante. Pero, di ba, tama yon na dapat ini-educate natin. Pero di ba, mas maganda kung sabay natin gawin ito, na ine-educate natin yung botante, at the same time, ine-educate natin yung politiko at sinasala natin sila. At di ba itong political service exam ay isang instrument din na pag-educate sa mga voters, dahil ibinibigay natin kung sino ba yung tama, sino yung may ability, sino ba yung may credibility. Yun lamang po.
Before I end our speech, I would just like to restate the most important things we have in our pocket. Una, nakasaad sa ating saligang batas na bawat Pilipino ay may karapatang tumakbo sa politika. Bill of Rights, political rights, civil rights, nakasaad, clearly stated na lahat tayo ay may karapatan. Walang sino mang pwedeng pumigil o walang kahit anumang means na pwedeng pumigil sa atin na tumakbo o exercise ang karapatang ito. Pangalawa at ang pinaka-importante, again, IQ test, IQ score will never measure the candidate's integrity, flexibility to work with other politicians, and the ability to lead properly. Walang pag-aaral, wala kahit i-research nyo, walang pag-aaral na nagsabi, intelligence is the key for a good governance. Wala. Because it is political will. And it will always be political will. Ngayon, ang aming proposal, imbis na mag-focus sa mga politicians, mag-focus tayo sa tao. Mag-focus tayo sa mga voters. We need to have a fundamental and strong education for the voters. Simulan, bata pa lang, magkaroon ng grassroots. Kailangan simulan natin, ganito, ang pagboboto, ganito, ganyan. I-open natin ang patriotism nila. Nang sa ganoy, alam nila, pagdating nila ng 18, alam nila kung sino dapat iboto at sino hindi. Maraming salamat po.
At syempre, ang ating mga schoolmates dito ay may natutunan ding aral. Ngayon, ating schoolmates na Nina, ano ang iyong natutunan?
Natutunan ko na dito sa debate na to, I guess talagang importante na ma-filter natin yung mga candidates na tatakbo para magpatakbo ng bansa natin. Kasi although hindi pinaka-importante yung intelligence or yung IQ, siguro isa tong major indicator para malaman natin kung sino ba talaga yung mas may kakayahan para mapatakbo yung bansa, kung sino may alam kung paano i-manage or kung paano solusyonan yung mga problema ng bansa natin. And although yung political will na sinasabi is masasayang, I guess na maaari natin siyang base na lang siguro sa pagsiserve ng country, although hindi tayo naging part ng government na yon because of the political service exam.
Maraming salamat, Nina. At for the final statement, ako ata ang nakatoka dito.
Yes.
Siya na nagsabi
Siya
sa sarili
nag-intro
niya,
sa
diba?
yes.
Siya
So,
pa-
Kat, ano masasabi mo about our
Yes.
topic for tonight?
Yes. For me, sang-ayon ako na kumuha ng political service exam ang mga politikong itong tatakbo sa eleksyon dahil for quality control, masala natin, para yung makuha natin yung matatalino. Hindi naman natin sinasabing kailangan matalino talaga, pero yung may maayos sa educational background, magaling, may potensyal, at may sensibilidad at mabuting hangarin para sa bayan niya. Ayan. At gusto ko magpasalamat sa buong Siena College.
Yes! Thank you, guys! Maraming
Two weeks yun, 2 weeks yun.
Nakibahagi at nakisaya sa ating talakayan.
Yes,
Ayan,
syempre.
maraming salamat po.
Siyempre, Kat, gusto rin natin magpasalamat sa faculty members at siyempre sa mga audience natin na ngayon. Maraming salamat.
Thank you!
Palakpakan nyo ang inyong mga sarili. Siyempre, gusto ko po
Alright.
magpasalamat sa Dermastetic, Dentagem, Hawkbags, and Sandwich Guy. Maraming salamat po.
Yes, thank you, Dermastetic Denta Gem and Ipon Girl for my outfit for today.
Ako naman, maraming salamat, Jewels, Zanea, Delish Diet Delivery, and Medina House of Aesthetics, Be Beyond Beautiful.
Alright, next week.
And with that, sa bawat usapin sa bawat issue, may boses ang kabataan.
Sumali, makinig at makaisa dahil opinion nyo'y mahalaga.
Kaya naman, sabay-sabay natin sisigaw sa buong mundo, is Schoolmates!
May pakialam ka!
Isigaw ang tinig mo.
Thank you, Jenna!
Karapatan, kalayaan. Buksan ang isip mo. Kaalaman ang yaman mo. Karapatan, kalayaan.
Unti-unti nang nagbubunga ang mga pagsisikap ni Hujun.
Simula bukas itong si Horjun ang mamapahala sa bodega ng gamot.
Magtatagumpay ba ang masamang balak ni Ginang O sa kanya?
Hindi ako titigil hanggat hindi siya umaalis. Gagawin ko lahat ng paraan para palayasin siya.
Samantala, palalagay pa sa panganib ang buhay nila ni Dr. Yu. Abangan ngayong Sabado, alas 9:15 ng gabi. As night falls, we light up your way with news that can guide you the next day. Catherine Vital, Richmond Cruz, and Charmaine Espina point you in the right direction on PTV News, Mondays to Fridays, 9:15 p.m. Only here on the Philippines Newsroom, PTV.
Ang susunod na programa ay rated PG. Ito ay nangangailangan ng patnubay at gabay ng magulang para sa mga batang manonood.
Walang makapagsasabi kung ano ang mga numerong mananalo sa lahat ng PCSO games. Huwag maniwala sa mga text messages, liham o tawag sa telepono na nagsasabing magbibigay daw sila ng tip kapalit ng pera o cellphone load. Bumili ng ticket sa mga PCSO authorized outlets at PCSO branches bago ang actual draw. Pilipinas, humanda na sa isa na namang gabi na nag-uumapaw sa saya, swerte at pag-asa maging milyonaryo. Dito lang po yan sa nag-iisang multimillion game show, ang PCSO Lottery Draw. It's Thursday, April 27, 2017. Ang mga games pa natin tonight are fixed prize games, Easy 2 Lotto and Suertes Lotto. At ang ating pari mutual game, 6-digit Lotto 642 and the Super Lotto 649. To start off, let's meet our guests in the studio. Good evening sa ating panel of judges led by our chairperson, Mr. Cesar Brigole. Also here with us are the representatives from PCSO and the Commission on Audit. And to assist us with our draws, we have our PCSO Draw Coordinator. Magandang gabi rin po. Pero bago tayo maglaro, panoorin muna natin ang mga naging kaganapan sa pre-draw procedures kanina. Sa gaganaping live draws, siniguro ng ating panel of judges and representatives from PCSO and Commission on Audit na maayos ang kondisyon ng draw machines na gagamitin. Only the operation of the remote switch button ang may human intervention. Sa random selection of draw balls, 3 sets ang pinagpipilian for each game. All balls in all sets have almost exactly the same weight. Lahat po ng bola ay tinimbang at covered po ito ng video. Tapos masiguro na ito ay kumpleto, ang chairperson lamang ang makakapag-load ng draw balls na gagamitin sa mga draws. Lotto players, game time na. Simulan po natin sa Super Jackpot. Let's play Super Lotto 649. Tonight, Super Lotto Jackpot prize is 29,371,920 pesos. Mr. Brigole, sir, please press that button and let's play Super Lotto. Maraming salamat po, sir. Mamaya, kasama rin po natin kayo sa ating Lotto 642 draw. But in the meantime, Lotto fans, kumpleto po ang 49 balls, laman ng ating draw machine, numbered 1 to 49. Ang tanong, ano-ano kaya mga numbers ang mapipili? And the first number is 15. Reminder po sa ating mga kababayan, huwag ho kayo maniniwala sa mga text at tawag sinasabing nanalo kayo sa loto kapalit ng pera o cellphone load dahil scam po yan. Huwag na huwag ho kayong maniniwala sa mga ganyan. Oh, and the second number is 23. At paulit-ulit namin paalala, ingatan po ang mga lotto tickets. Huwag pong babasain o painitan ng mga yan para hindi masira ang ticket dahil kailangan po i-validate ang ticket sa pag-claim po ng premyo. And our third number is 48. Para po sa mga hindi pa nakakaalam, ang Super Lotto pari-mutual game. Kung dalawa o higit pa ang jackpot winners, paghahatian po nila equally ang jackpot prize. We are waiting for the fourth number. There you go. Our fourth number is 36. Pari-mutual din po ang mga consolation prizes at exciting po ang mga papremyo. Dito po maring manalo mula 20 pesos at maring umabot ng 70,000 pesos. Hihintay natin ang panglimang number. There you go. Nakapili na ating machine. And our fifth number is number 1. Isang bola na lang po ang hinihintay natin para makumpleto na ang ating Super Lotto winning combination ngayong gabi. Good luck sa lahat ng may tickets for tonight's Super Lotto 649 draw. There you go. Our sixth and final number. 14. Philippines, here are the official Super Lotto winning numbers in any order. 15, 23, 48, 36, 1, and 14 with a jackpot prize of 29,371,920 pesos. Another multi-million jackpot is coming up next. Let's play Lotto 642. Tonight's Lotto 642 jackpot prize is 15,202,136 pesos. Once again, Mr. Brigoles, sir, please press that button and let's play Lotto 642. Maraming salamat po muli sa ating chairperson at sa ating panel of judges sa paglalaan po ng oras para samahan kami maghatid ng swerte. This time, 42 balls ang laman ng ating draw machine and we are waiting for 6 lucky balls. And the first number is number 10. Ang Lotto 642 po, pari mutual game din. Halimbawa, isa lang ang jackpot winner. Solong-solo po niya ang jackpot prize. Pero paghahatian po ang jackpot kung dalawa o higit pa ang jackpot winners. And the second number is 35. Pari mutual din po ang consolation prizes sa Lotto 642. Dito maring manalo mula 20 pesos at pwedeng umabot ng 25,000 pesos. Third number is 39. Kung winner kayo na mahigit sa 5,000 pesos at jackpot prize, magdala na po kayo ng dalawang valid na ID at dito na po sa main office kayo tumungo. 8:15 ng umaga hanggang 4:30 ng hapon, maaring mag-claim ng premyo. Fourth number is 23. Inaanyayahan din po namin kayong maglaro at manalo sa iba pang games ng PCSO gaya ng Kino, Small Town Lottery at Scratch It dahil mga certified PCSO products po ang mga yan. And the fifth number is 19. Isang number na lang po ang hinihintay natin para makumpleto na ang jackpot winning combination. Ikaw na kaya ang susunod na maging milyonaryo? Good luck, Lotto 642 players. The sixth and final number is 32. Philippines, here are the official Lotto 642 winning numbers which can come in any order. 10, 35, 39, 23, 19, and 32 with a jackpot prize of 15,202,136 pesos. Magbabalik po ang PCSO makaran lamang ang ilang sandali.
Calling all fundraising organizations. Get the chance to raise more than 1.2 million pesos for your charity projects. Be a partner of PCSO in its mini sweepstakes special draws. The PCSO is opening its doors to all non-profit organizations, local government units, cooperatives, social civic groups, and associations to its newest project, PCSO Partner Tayo. Interested parties may visit the PCSO Product and Standard Development Department, 3rd floor, Conservatory Building, Shaw Boulevard, Mandaluyong City. You may also visit any of our branches in your vicinity or province or email us at pcso_marketing@yahoo.com. Partner tayo sa pagtulong sa Pilipino. Nakakatulong ka na, umaasenso ka pa.
Lagi ka sa ulo! Scratch it! Sa bawat scratch, maaaring manalo up to 1 million pesos!
Patuloy po ang aming paanyaya. Kung kayo po ay may mga charitable projects, maaari nyo pong maging ka-partner ang PCSO sa sweepstakes draw para sa inyong fundraising. Maganda po ang mga insentibong naghihintay para sa inyong organisasyon. For more information, you may call the PCSO Product and Standard Development Department at landline number 846-8764. Paalala naman po sa ating mga Lotto and Kino agents o sa mga may transaksyon sa PCSO San Marcelino Office, pansamantala pong sarado ang nasabing tanggapan hanggang bukas, araw ng Biyernes, April 28, 2017, upang bigyan daan ng ASEAN Summit. Regular operations will resume on Tuesday, May 2, 2017. Maraming salamat po. Luzon Digit players, para sa inyo ang game na to. Let's play the 6-digit game! 6-digit fans, ang naipong first prize pool mahigit na po sa 600,000 pesos as of our last draw. Paano nga ba laruin ang 6-digit game? Kailangan lang mag-match ang inyong mga numbers sa 6-digit winning combination in exact order. Kung dalawa o higit pa ang mananalo ng first prize, hahatiin po ang first prize equally sa bilang ng first prize winners. At kung masyadong marami pong manalo ng first prize, guaranteed, hindi ho bababa ng 150,000 pesos ang premyo ng bawat isa. Narito na po ang ating winning combination. The first digit is 8. Second digit, number 4. Third digit is the number 6. And the fourth digit is a 0. The fifth digit is the number 4. And finally, the sixth digit, we have 0. Again, tonight's 6-digit winning combination, 8, 4, 6, 0, 4, and 0 in exact order. Kanino 3 numbers naman kaya ang maswerte ngayong gabi? Let's play Sweatres Lotto. Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, nasa evening draw na po tayo ng Sweatres Lotto. Pareho rin po ang game mechanics nito sa ating morning and afternoon draws. Matching the 3-digit winning combination in exact order wins you the fixed prize of 4,500 pesos. And playing via the Rambolito system play wins you either 750 pesos or 1,500 pesos. There you go. Nakapili na po ang ating machines ng winning combination. The first digit is the number 8. Second digit, we have number 9. And finally, the third digit is a 0. Double check your tickets. Tonight's Sweatres Lotto winning combination, 8, 9, and 0 in exact order. Kaninong 2 numbers kaya ang maswerte ngayong gabi? Let's find out as we play Easy 2 Lotto. Easy lang maglaro at manalo dito sa Easy 2 Lotto Draw. Pumili lang po ng tag-isang number from 1 to 31 sa dalawang subset sa inyong Easy 2 Lotto play slips. Dito, fixed price na 4,000 pesos ang premyo pag nag-match po ang inyong 2 numbers sa Easy 2 Lotto winning combination tonight in exact order. At kung kayo po ay nagrambolito, maaari kayo manalo ng 2,000 pesos. Narito na po ang ating winning numbers and the first number is 3. Second number, we have 26. Recapping tonight's Easy 2 Lotto winning numbers, we have 3 and 26 in exact order. Kung isa kayo sa mga nanalo ngayong gabi, congratulations po! At para naman sa mga nag-aabang na resulta ng PCSO morning and afternoon draws kanina, narito ang resulta. The 11 a.m. draw results. For the Easy 2 Lotto, we have 10 and 22 in exact order. Sa Sweatres Lotto, we have 0, 2, and 8 in exact order. And for the 4 p.m. draw results, sa Easy 2 Lotto, we have 1 and 30 in exact order. At para sa Sweatres Lotto, the winning combination is 0, 3, and 1 in exact order. Kung isa ka sa maswerteng Lotto winners, easy lang mag-claim ng premyo. Isulat ang pangalan at pirmahan ang likod ng winning ticket. Kung nanalo ng 20 pesos hanggang 5,000 pesos, maaaring i-claim ang premyo sa mga authorized Lotto outlets. Sa mga winners ng mahigit sa 5,000 pesos maliban sa jackpot, pumunta sa pinakamalapit na PCSO branch sa inyong lugar o sa PCSO main office at magdala ng 2 valid IDs. At kung jackpot winner ka, dalhin ang winning ticket at 2 valid IDs, i-claim ang inyong premyo sa PCSO main office. Recap time, simulan po natin sa Easy 2 Lotto. Ang winning numbers po natin, 3 and 26 in exact order. Sa Sweatres Lotto, 8, 9, and 0 in exact order. Sa 6-digit game, 8, 4, 6, 0, 4, and 0 in exact order. Sa Lotto 642 in any order, 10, 35, 39, 23, 19, and 32 with a jackpot prize of 15,202,136 pesos. Finally, the Super Lotto 649, we have 15, 23, 48, 36, 1 and 14 in any order with a jackpot prize of 29,371,920 pesos. Tatawagin ko na po ang ating representative from the Data Security para malaman natin kung may jackpot winner tayo tonight. Good evening. Thank you. According to the data center, no jackpot winner sa ating Super Lotto 649. Ganun din sa Lotto 642. No jackpot winner. Para po sa PCSO, ako si Eric Kimson. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Susunod na po ang PTV News. Thank you.
The ASEAN community is committed, participative, and socially responsible. The ASEAN upholds the principles of good governance, promotes high quality of life, equitable access to opportunities, and human rights. The ASEAN community shall reinforce itself with resiliency and effective mechanisms to meet the current and future needs of the people. Dynamic, harmonious, and united, the region stands as a community that's aware and proud of its identity, with a capacity to innovate and proactively contribute to the global community.
Kilalanin ang industriya ng kalakalang pandagat sa kauna-unahang programang pangmarino. Yan ang Marino. Don't miss out with Ron De Los Reyes. Auto Review.
Sa pag-asenso, dapat magnegosyo.
Kung paano ihahatid namin sa inyo sa loob ng 30 minuto.
Sa pinakabagong business show on Philippine television, ang Nego Show.
Ang tamang impormasyon sa tamang panahon. PTV Newsbreak mula sa PTV para sa bayan.
Ang susunod na programa ay rated PG. Ito ay nangangailangan ng patnubay at gabay ng magulang para sa mga batang manonood.
In the headlines, President Rodrigo Duterte said he will not bring up the arbitral tribunal's decision giving the Philippines victory against China's expansive claims in the South China Sea during the ASEAN summit. The Philippines and Brunei have enhanced its diplomatic relations through the signing of 2 memorandum of understandings for improving musical and performing arts and development of the halal industry and halal products. President Rodrigo Duterte shrugged off the complaint filed against him at the International Criminal Court. The president reiterated that there are no state-sponsored killings in the country as the government exerts all its efforts to hold the uniformed men to be responsible when they are involved in these activities. To make the peace process more inclusive, Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process, Jesus Dureza, has created the IP Lumad Peace Table. During Peace Table conversations, IP leaders all over Mindanao will discuss issues and concerns of their respective groups.
This is PTV News. Good evening. I'm Catherine Vital with Richmond Cruz and Charms Espina. the news tonight, President Rodrigo Duterte is firm in not bringing up the arbitral tribunal's decision, giving the Philippines victory against China's expansive claims in the South China Sea during the ASEAN summit. The president said he would only raise the code of conduct in the South China Sea during the meeting. According to the chief executive, the best way to deal with China in connection with the territorial dispute is to keep on talking.
The most important thing really is whether we like it or not, everybody's interested. I will skip the arbitral ruling. It is not an issue here in the ASEAN. Code of conduct maybe, but arbitral it's only between China and the Philippines, so I'll skip that. Iba yung ano, but the code of conduct sa sea, ibang istorya yon. It must be taken up. But we will not talk about sovereignty over what part of the islands there is there, because that is not an issue before the ASEAN summit. What is at issue is the conduct of the parties in the use of the China Sea.
It has been a hugely productive and eventful encounter thus far between the maverick yet lionized first-year president and the 50-year veteran head of his mega-rich state, who came calling on the eve of the two-day 30th ASEAN Summit meetings. PTV senior correspondent Rocky Ignacio was a first-hand witness to this event, and she filed this report.
The Philippines and Brunei Darussalam have enhanced diplomatic relations. Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah arrived in Manila last night for a state visit and for the 30th ASEAN Summit on April 28 and 29. Sultan Bolkiah led the wreath-laying ceremony at Dr. Jose Rizal's monument in Luneta. Bolkiah is the first ASEAN head of state and the second leader to visit the Philippines. From the Rizal Park, President Rodrigo Duterte welcomed Sultan Bolkiah in Malacanang. A welcome ceremony was rendered for Sultan Bolkiah. In the expanded bilateral meeting, both leaders expressed commitment to enhance security and economic cooperation. Sultan Bolkiah informed the president of the change he noticed, like economic activities in the country. Two memoranda of understanding have been signed: the cultural cooperation aimed at improving musical and performing arts, and a memorandum of understanding on the halal industry and the development of halal products. In a joint statement, President Duterte described his meeting with Bolkiah productive. The two leaders discussed issues to ensure regional peace and security, including disputes in the South China Sea and lasting peace in Mindanao.
I look forward to secure the blessings of all ASEAN, and His Majesty's support for the chairmanship of ASEAN is most crucial. We will work together to ensure that the principled position for the peaceful resolution of disputes will be articulated fully. This is a collective interest that must be upheld in the implementation of the Declaration of the Code of Conduct and greater progress on the framework of Code of Conduct in South China Sea. As we seek peace, stability, and security in the vital waters of South China Sea, we must remember that we have duties as responsible members of the international community, which we must abide.
Bolkiah meantime recognized the importance of BIMP Iaga or Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Philippines East Asia growth area. He also extends his support for the peace process in Mindanao and the Philippines hosting of the 2017 ASEAN Summit.
It is a pleasure to be back in the Philippines to further strengthen our close bilateral relations. Today, our meeting gave us an opportunity to discuss a wide range of issues of mutual interest. We reaffirm our close and long-standing partnership in various areas of cooperation. Our defense links are closer than ever through our participation in the International Monitoring Team in Southern Philippines. The ongoing peace initiative will promise a prosperous future for your people and have a far-reaching impact upon our region.
President Duterte paid an introductory visit to Brunei October last year after he assumed post in July. For PTV News, Rocky Ignacio.
More ASEAN leaders are set to arrive in the Philippines this Friday to attend the ASEAN summit. Aside from welcome dinners, the Department of Tourism also prepared tours for the ASEAN delegates. More of this report from Sweden, Velado.
Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak is now in the country for the 30th ASEAN Summit. He arrived at around 5:30 in the afternoon with his wife, Her Excellency Rosma Mansor. Tomorrow, a day before the summit, more ASEAN heads of state and government are expected to come. Cambodian Prime Minister and Indonesian President Joko Widodo, who will also be in the country for a state visit, will arrive in the morning. Following them in the afternoon are Myanmar State Councilor Aung San Suu Kyi, Vietnamese President Tran Dai Quang, Thai Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, Laotian Prime Minister Thongloun Sisoulith, and Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. Brunei Prime Minister Sultan Hassanal Bolkiah was the first to arrive yesterday for both the 30th ASEAN Summit and state visit. Meanwhile, two separate welcome dinners were prepared for ASEAN foreign ministers and participants of the ASEAN Youth Summit. Aside from meetings, the Department of Tourism also arranged special tours for foreign delegates. The tour itinerary includes a visit to the National Museum, Metropolitan Museum, and Manila Bay Sunset Cruise on the last day of the summit. For PTV News, Sweden, Velado.
The authorities are implementing tight security around the PICC for the ASEAN Summit. In case there will be groups that will stage a protest in the area, PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa said they will implement maximum tolerance. Lala Babilonia reports.
PNP Chief Ronald Bato de la Rosa went around PICC to inspect the area security status. More than 3,000 policemen were deployed around PICC for the 2017 ASEAN Leaders Summit. Policemen were positioned wearing their safety vest. Maximum tolerance will be implemented against protesters all throughout the ASEAN Summit.
Kung talaga sinasaktan sila at pinapalo, din hintayin sila, labas nila yung kanilang transyon, yung baton, for self-defense. Hindi for aggressive for self-defense lang. Lahat ito is they move under commands. Hindi sila pwede mag-move individually.
De La Rosa is confident that his men are very much prepared to respond to security threats.
Lahat na, we must be prepared for the worst. Lahat, binabantayan natin. Wala tayong pinipili, lahat. Dahil mahirap na. Mas maganda na yung prepared tayo sa the worst. Kaysa kumpiyansa tayo, walang mangyari dyan.
The police hasn't encountered any rallies today. However, they will still be on full alert in the coming days until the ASEAN Summit ends. For PTV News, Lala Babilonia.
An overseas Filipino worker aired her concerns about the inefficient implementation of the laws protecting the rights of migrant workers in Southeast Asia. According to her, lobbying the implementation of fixed working hours and the removal of terminal fees to improve the working conditions of the migrant workers is not enough, as there is a deeper aspect of the issue that should be critically discussed at the ASEAN Summit. Joy Gumatay has this report.
Dr. Dionisio was busy processing documents at the legal division when we met her at the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration. She's currently finishing the proceedings of the complaint she filed against her recruitment agency that connived with her Saudi Arabian employer, forcing her to sign a new 2-year contract only after 6 months of effectivity. Dr. Dionisio is aware of the inefficient implementation of the laws protecting the rights of migrant workers in Southeast Asia. Hence, she is hoping that the ASEAN member state ministers will comprehensively discuss about the issue at the ongoing Leaders Summit.
Ang isang OFW, protektado siya ng kontrata niya. Kung ano yung POEA Standard Approved Master Employment Contract na pinirmahan dito sa Pilipinas sa opisina ng agency, yun.
Labor and Employment Secretary Silvestre Bello III earlier promised that he will lobby the implementation of fixed working hours and the removal of terminal fees to improve the working conditions of the migrant workers. But Dr. Dionisio believes that there is a deeper aspect of the issue that should be critically tackled at the ASEAN Summit.
Kasi ang nagiging label, parang cheap labor pag sinabing galing sa Southeast Asia. So sana isa yun sa mabago dahil alam naman natin ang kakayahan at kalibre ng mga taga Southeast Asia.
Nevertheless, Dr. Dionisio is positive that the ministers will come up with regional agreements that will improve the condition of ASEAN migrant workers, especially with the celebration of the organization's 50th founding anniversary on August 2017. She is still hoping that the time will come when OFWs and the rest of migrant workers in ASEAN would not need to work abroad. But until full economic development is yet to be realized by the 10 member states, Dr. Dionisio prays that ASEAN migrant workers will be further protected by their government representatives while they work overseas for their families and their respective nations. For PTV News, Joy Gumatay.
Poverty is a widespread scourge that affects all nations in the planet. Prosperity is the elusive cure all strive to attain that is more limited and exclusive by nature. The never-ending fight against poverty is rooted in spreading the gained wealth or earned prosperity through effective government policies and programs. PTV Sweden Velado reports on ASEAN's strategy toward inclusive growth by way of initiatives towards creating sustainable MSMEs.
Poverty is one of the biggest problems in the country. It is considered as the root cause of the poisons of society, such as illegal drugs and criminality. This Friday, programs and projects to achieve inclusive growth in the ASEAN region will be discussed in the ASEAN Prosperity Summit for All.
It is important that ASEAN remembers that the inclusivity, especially for those who are at the bottom, countries who are trying to aspire to be as successful as Singapore, Malaysia, are helped by the more successful countries.
Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship and ASEAN Business Advisory Council Chairman Joey Concepcion said 99.6% of the Philippines business community is composed of micro, small, and medium entrepreneurs, while only 0.4% represents the giant companies nationwide.
We are really encouraging all of these 0.4% the largest corporations in the country to really help the 99.6% of micro and small.
The ASEAN Mentoring Entrepreneurship Network, or AMEN, will be established to get volunteer mentors from different ASEAN member states who will teach ways to develop sectors that need improvement, such as agriculture, technology, and logistics. Concepcion believes the Philippines will highly benefit from this, especially because we have millions of Filipinos whose primary livelihood is farming. Concepcion stressed it is important to achieve prosperity for all in the ASEAN region to avoid what happened in another economic bloc, European Union, where Britain pulled out, tagged as Brexit, because they failed to achieve inclusive growth.
And it's very clear from the council members today, as we had our meeting, is that they want each and every country to rise together, and nobody is left behind.
3 ASEAN leaders are expected to grace the ASEAN Prosperity Summit for All. Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak is set to deliver the opening speech, while Thai Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha will give the closing speech. Vietnamese Prime Minister Tran Dai Quang is yet to confirm his attendance. On the part of the Philippines, former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo and Vice President Eleni Robredo will both give separate talks in the forum. The program starts at 9 a.m. tomorrow in Pasay City, where an estimated 1,000 individuals are expected to attend. For PTV News, Sweden Velado.
As in almost all things that fail or succeed in the real world, it always takes two to either make or break a deal. The President's vision for a golden age of infrastructure will only succeed with the patience, cooperation, and support of the public, who are the end beneficiaries of this ambitious scheme of President Rodrigo Duterte's economic program. The specifics in this report from Joy Gumatay.
Sana kung positive kami, kayo, bigyan nyo rin kami ng asa. Huwag duda. Kayo, bigyan nyo rin ho kami ng dasal, huwag batikos. Kung yung mga nakaraan hindi nagagawin, bigyan nyo kami ng tiwala. Alam mo yung sabihin?
This is the call of Transportation Secretary Arthur Tugade to the public while the Dutertenomics Forum continues, all for the realization of the golden age of infrastructure in the next 5 years. The Transportation Secretary emphasized that the plan is equal to 7 to 8 trillion pesos target infrastructure capital resource. It is crystal clear to Transportation Secretary Arth Tugade and Public Works and Highways Secretary Mark Villar that such funding is not possible through government efforts alone. Hence, the proposed plan is significantly investment-driven to speed up and heighten the improvement of land, sea, and air travel going in and out of the country.
Halimbawa, yung mga interoperability na mga toll, yung mga improvements sa mga communications, yung mga ibang airports na itatayo, marami pa ho yun.
Secretary Tugade promised that 100% transparency of the entire project will be fully implemented to assure that Dutertenomics will be honest, clean, and corruption-free.
Mr. President Vince mentioned about even the bidding being on a live stream from the time you are doing the opening of the bid up to the time it is awarded. That is unprecedented. We are also inviting certain NGOs, and even some of the media to participate, to witness, not participate, to witness the bidding.
Furthermore, Secretary Tugade believes that the improvement of Philippine infrastructure will eventually uphold the living conditions of the Filipinos as it will speed up labor and maximize the utilization of modern technology. For PTV News, Joy Gumatay.
The 30th ASEAN Summit meetings will assemble an interesting mix of fledgling and veteran politicians whose popularity with their constituencies or their performance at work passes muster either at the national or world stage. One of the richest men in the planet, an esteemed female freedom fighter, a Nobel Peace Prize recipient, erstwhile generals in the army, a son of a legendary leader and one maverick mayor who's captured all his peers' admiration, is Time Magazine's most influential personality, and is this year's host in this report from Dayan Querer.
The 30th ASEAN Summit is an occasion in which the ASEAN leaders gather for a meeting in the Philippines. Among the leaders, there is the only woman leader, the 71-year-old state councilor Aung San Suu Kyi from Myanmar. She is known as the Lady. Year 1991, she received the Nobel Peace Prize for her non-violent struggle for democracy and human rights in Myanmar. She is the daughter of Myanmar independence hero General Aung San. From Singapore is ASEAN leader Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. He has been the Prime Minister since 2004. He is also the Secretary General of People's Action Party. Prior joining politics, he served in Singapore Armed Forces. He retired in the army with the rank of Brigadier General. He is the son of Singapore's founding father, Lee Kuan Yew. From Thailand is Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha. He is a retired Royal Thai Army officer. He served as Commander-in-Chief in Royal Thai Army. Since 2014, he has been the head of National Council for Peace and Order and concurrently the Prime Minister of Thailand. From Vietnam is President Tan Dai Qua. He was elected president during the 11th session of the 13th National Assembly April last year. Prior being elected president, he served as Vietnamese Minister in Public Security. And the chair of the ASEAN this year is Philippine President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. President Duterte, a lawyer, is the first president from Mindanao. Prior being president, he served for many years as mayor of Davao City. With more than 16 million votes, he was elected Philippine president last May 2016. For PTV News, Dayan Querer.
PTV News will be back in just a short while. Stay tuned.
GSIS benefits and programs, pag-uusapan natin sa GSIS Members Hour. Hitch a ride and experience life on a bike and beyond. Lifestyle on Wheels, your weekend monitoring magazine show on TV, Saturdays on Your People's Television.
Sa pag-asenso, dapat magnegosyo.
Kung papaano ihahatid namin sa inyo sa loob ng 30 minuto.
sa pinakabagong business show on Philippine television, ang Nego Show.
For our business news, the Philippines posted a net inflow of foreign portfolio investments in the week ending April 14, 2017, amid a shortened work week in observance of the Holy Week. Data released by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas show that foreign portfolio investments, or hot money, posted a net inflow of $211.15 million at the end of the second week of the month. This is a reversal from the $97.96 million net outflow in the previous week and higher than the $12.59 million in the week ending April 15, 2016. This was registered after inflows at $408.54 million were more than twice the outflows of $197.39 million. The country's budget deficit declined to 61.5 billion pesos last March, down 17% from 74.4 billion pesos a year ago. The Bureau of Treasury, or BTR, attributed the decline in the budget gap to the faster growth of revenues compared with expenditures during the period in review. BTR data show that revenues rose by 14% compared to the 4% expansion of expenditures. Revenues last March amounted to 180.2 billion pesos, up 157.8 billion pesos in the same period in 2016, while spending reached 241.7 billion pesos, slightly higher than year ago's 232.2 billion pesos. The government is urging the private sector to pour money into the energy sector, which requires an investment of up to $135 billion over the next 25 years. Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi said the country needs to increase its power generation capacity by 43,000 megawatts to support infrastructure projects identified under Ambisyon Natin 2040. Ambisyon Natin is the government's 25-year long-term vision for growth and development. The National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, or NGCP, has affirmed that current transmission facilities will be able to support the government's goal of bringing high-speed internet nationwide. NGCP President and CEO Henry C. Jr. disclosed that the company has been working with the Department of Information and Communications Technology, or DICT, and the Department of Energy, or DOE, to put the project forward. He said they have given the DICT and DOE all the information they need to push through with the project. According to the NGCP, as the country's sole power transmission operator, it has thousands of fiber optic facilities run from Luzon to Mindanao for internal communication purposes and is ready to lease out these fiber optic lines to enable the government the upgrade that it needs for the internet speed and to reduce the amount of time needed to complete the project. Local share prices went down 65.44 points, or 0.85%, to close at 7,661.01. All counters were in the red. Total volume reached 1.620 billion, valued at 5.755 billion pesos. Losers led winners 122 to 72, while 52 stocks were unchanged.
Martinez, and for the latest tonight, Tropical Cyclone Dante has maintained its strength as Category 3 tropical cyclone or tropical storm. It was last spotted at about 1,330 kilometers east of Vira Catanduanes or Casiguran, Aurora. Now, the local weather bureau clarifies that Dante is forecasted to weaken as it exits PAR by tomorrow. As for the latest update, it is moving at a slow pace at about 13 kilometers per hour northwestward towards the North Pacific, packed with winds reaching up to 65 kilometers to 80 kilometers per hour near the center. Now let's head on to our forecast map tomorrow based on the latest weather of Pag-asa. We're looking at partly cloudy skies with isolated showers in the afternoon or evening over here in Central Luzon as well as in Mimaropa and Calabarzon provinces. Now better weather is up for Visayas and Palawan and portions of northern Luzon. That includes ARMM and Soc-Sarjan. Now northern Mindanao has higher chances of experiencing thunderstorms in the afternoon or evening. Looking at Ilocos region and Cagayan Valley, we're looking at partly cloudy skies with isolated rain showers in the afternoon or evening.
As for those of you heading out for some fun under the sun this long weekend, let's check out our beach weather forecast. Until Monday over here in Boracay, we're looking at the higher chances of rain showers or light rain showers in the afternoon over at Boracay with partly cloudy skies. Maximum highs at around 31 to 32 degrees Celsius. El Nido and Bohol as well we may experience thunderstorms in the afternoon or evening with possible highs of 34 degrees by tomorrow over at Palawan and Batangas area, Anilao beaches in Batangas. We're looking at 33 to 34 degrees Celsius with possible thunderstorms in the afternoon or evening. Let's head on now to our ASEAN weather outlook for tomorrow until Saturday. We're looking at partly cloudy skies tomorrow over at Metro Manila with chances of thunderstorms in the afternoon, most likely to happen on Saturday and Sunday with possible highs of 39 degrees Celsius, almost 40 by Sunday. Meanwhile, let's take a quick look over Asia cities forecast for tomorrow. That's the latest only here on PTV Info Weather. This has been Ice Martinez. Have a pleasant evening.
To make the peace process more inclusive, Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process, Jesus Dureza, has created the IP Lumad Peace Table. We'll tell you more of the details when PTV News returns.
Let's have fun in Pangasinan. Dayuhin natin ang probinsya ng mga kababayan nating Panggalatok. Let's make our day brighter with an amazing sunflower. Feel the thrill, strap in, and step up for an ultimate adventure park experience. Lahat ng yan ngayong darating na linggo, alas 7 ng gabi sa iTravel Pinas, dito lang sa PTV.
Ang bigas sa Nueva Ecija ay level up dahil dito matatagpuan ang Future Rice.
Hello dear followers! Carla here. Nagbabalik ang inyong paboritong health show dito sa PTV. Samahan niyo kami ni Assistant Secretary Eric Tayag, Dr. Rio Magpantay, at Dr. Raul Quillamor sa aming kwentuhan tungkol sa mga napapanahong issue tungkol sa ating kalusugan. Kaya magkita tayo linggo-linggo dito sa The Doctor Is In dahil Wellness is In.
The Doctor Is In, Sundays 11 a.m. only here on People's Television.
President Rodrigo Duterte shrugged off the complaint filed against him at the International Criminal Court. The president reiterated that there are no state-sponsored killings in the country as the government exerts all its effort to hold the uniformed men responsible men involved in these activities. The chief executive also challenged the United States to investigate the extrajudicial killings in the country.
It's about time that their publication also must stop. Americano, you're playing like the morals of you. You didn't realize that you invaded the country in the name of drugs. You remember Noriega of Panama? Remember the time that they invaded a sovereign country like Panama, kidnapped the president and brought him to America to stand trial and is serving prison time there. Ano ginawa nila? Sa Iraq, you invaded Iraq. Why? Because of the weapons of mass destruction. How many died? What was found there? Nothing. There was no weapons of mass destruction.
Amidst the uproar following the statement of Vice President Leni Robredo on decriminalizing illegal drugs in the country as a substitute to the government's aggressive campaign, the Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption spoke out on the downside of the so-called peaceful alternative solution. Julius de Samburun has the details.
The nation's leading civilian anti-corruption group was saddened over Vice President Leni Robredo's suggestion to decriminalize the use of illegal drugs and look to the example of Portugal's successful efforts to lower drug-related deaths and discourage drug abuse among its citizens. Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption said that it is not appropriate to compare Portugal and the Philippines as the two countries' criminal justice systems are different, especially on the presence of the narco-politicians who now are clearly an issue on peace and order. For the VACC, BP Robredo's suggestion is a clear indication she is confused and conflicted over the issue.
Bakit mo i-decriminalize itong isang major crime threats na number 1 nga sa record natin? So, we might as well, tanggalin na rin natin yung rape with murder, tanggalin na rin natin yung other major crimes. Kasi eto, saka sasabihin niya yung amount, konti lang. No, illegal drugs is per se evil, no matter what amount.
Also, on so many occasions, the Philippines suffers from an image or public relations problem when it draws negative impressions from the international community, like in Robredo's recent statement meant for the UN. VACC advises the Vice President to be careful with her words.
We suggest, Vice President Lenny, to do your homework. Mag-aral ka naman kasi you are the Vice President. Anything you say can affect all of us. And I suggest yung mga staff niya, aralin muna for every word, statement, pronouncement na ibibigkasin niya.
Robredo did not propose in strictly following the Portuguese government's policy but noted how the European nation dramatically shifted its focus from looking at drug abuse punitively to treating it as a health issue requiring treatment and reintegration. The second highest official of the Philippines explains to study the drug campaign around the world and see the countries that use violence in combating drugs never succeeded, like Venezuela, Colombia, and Mexico. The VP added that many of those who surrendered were not really drug dependents but occasional drug users. Meanwhile, VACC assessed the illegal drugs war is effective since administration launched it. The Anti-Crime and Corruption Group will continue to support anti-crime efforts of President Duterte to lower the crime rates in major cities all over in the Philippines.
Ang perception ng international community is grabing-grabe na yung ginagawa ng gobyerno, yung extrajudicial, when in fact, hindi naman wala namang clear, hard pieces of evidence na ito ay government-sponsored.
For PTV News, Julius Desamboron.
To make the peace process more inclusive, Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process, Jesus Dureza, has created the IP Lumad Peace Table. During Peace Table conversations, IP leaders all over Mindanao will discuss issues and concerns of their respective groups. More from Pauline Recuesto.
The Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process organized an IP Lumad Peace Table, which will focus on the issues that the indigenous peoples groups are facing. Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process, Jesus Dureza, made the announcement during the Peace Table conversations among IPs of Mindanao in Davao City. According to Dureza, it is important that the voices of the indigenous peoples are heard, especially since they are the ones most affected by the armed conflict in the countryside.
Ang pinag-awayan nga ng mga lugar at kiniklaim ng kung sino-sino, sila ang andun. And for a long time, they have been very patient. They have been very quiet, although assertive. But this time now, we will provide to them a mechanism where they can present their positions and we see to it that they will be heard.
The peace panel will initially convene all IP groups throughout the country to consolidate their concerns, such as their ancestral domains.
They craft together what is their term of reference that they have in mind. Then they must immediately hit the ground running. Immediately, they should go and get in touch with the different Lumad groups.
Dureza added that the output of the IP Lumad Peace Table will be presented during the negotiations with the CPP, NPA, NDF, and Bangsamoro groups. Around 50 IP leaders from all over Mindanao gathered for the Peace Table conversations to discuss the prevailing issues and concerns of their respective groups. The dialogue is among OPAP's initiatives to make the peace process more inclusive.
The Peace Table is a platform where everybody, not only these leaders but also their communities and other groups can participate, can join to bring out their concerns and even suggest solutions.
For PTV News, Pauline Recuesto, Davao City.
Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III clarified that the issuance of the Overseas Employment Certificate, or OEC, has been suspended for only 2 weeks to give way to an investigation against fixers. According to initial information, there are fixers asking for 15,000 to 17,000 pesos in exchange for an OEC. Ria Fernandez has more.
This man came to POEA to hopefully pick up his approved overseas employment certificate. This is the last document he has to secure before he can finally work in Australia as an agronomist. However, POEA is not acting on it following Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III's temporary suspension on direct hiring.
ang daming apektado rito direct hire. Hindi lang naman ako. Na grabing stress ng inabot namin sa pagkuha nga ng visa. Halos piniga na yung mga requirements namin doon bago kami nabigyan ng visa. Tapos ngayon, OEC na lang ang aming inaantay. Doble hirap pa ang sinasapit namin.
Under the Administrative Order Number 155 released by Bello Tuesday, processing and issuance of OEC is temporarily withheld following reports that it is being used in illegal activities. But the labor chief clarified that the scope of the order does not include those with pending applications and are qualified to be issued with OEC.
So, lahat yung mga nakapending bago April 25, pwedeng ituloy ang processing. Pero kailangan ingatan natin dyan. Baka, alam mo naman, meron na naman magluluko dyan na kahit na bagong application, ipipicture na naman nila na i-antidate naman nila para gagalaw. So, yun ang iingatan natin, Ria.
Bello noted operations will resume once his 2 weeks of investigation, which will start on May 1, is finished. He also plans to revamp POEA. In our initial information, fixers ask 15 to 17,000 pesos to OFWs in exchange of an OEC. This is despite the ban on direct hiring except for highly skilled workers and are hired by the following. On its part, POEA will tighten its security. It also has an appeal to applicants.
Kung talagang nabiktima kayo ng fixer, makipag-cooperate din kayo sa amin. Huwag kayo maniniwala na sasabihin sa inyo, okay, magbayad kayo, magdeposito kayo. Lalo na kung ang kausap nyo ay sa cellphone lang. Okay? Lalo na kung cellphone lang yan.
POEA Fact-Finding Committee will submit to DOLE on May 5 the result of its separate probe on the alleged anomaly. For PTV News, Ria Fernandez.
PNP officials in Mindanao were briefed on law enforcement coordination in the GPH-MILF peace process. According to the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the peace process, explaining the security protocols under the agreed ceasefire mechanisms is in order to avoid misencounters and misunderstandings in law enforcement operations. This report.
Officials from 6 regions in Mindanao recently converged in Davao City for a one-day briefing on the peace process between the government and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, focusing more on coordination of law enforcement activities in the Bangsamoro areas. Government Implementing Chair Irene Santiago of the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process said there is a need to explain again the security protocols under the agreed ceasefire mechanisms in order to avoid misencounter and misunderstanding in law enforcement operations.
PNP and the AFP are two parts of our, are the major parts of our security sector, no? Tapos we're working with the MILF. So kailangan they are committed to the peace process and they have the skills. Yun, lahat yan, yung kailangan knowledgeable about the peace process and committed to the peace process, but also may skills sila, may alam sila. So today, we are having a session where we are going to explain again where we are with the peace process.
The forum is conducted following an MILF statement voicing concern on the police operation against members of the MILF's armed wing, the Bangsamoro Islamic Armed Forces, which resulted in the killing of Mogayman Abo, brother of MILF Vice Chair Ghazali Jafar in Sultan Kudarat. The PNP has said that it is important for law enforcers to know all procedures on the ground. Chief Superintendent Pierre Buxit, chair of the Ad Hoc Joint Action Group and the Chief of Directorate for Integrated Police Operations in Western Mindanao, said all police units in Mindanao are given orientation to keep them abreast on the peace process and the coordination system.
Lessons learned? First, you have to study the area. If it's an MILF area, we should have to coordinate. We need their cooperation. Hindi rin kami basta-basta rin makakahuli kasi na without their help. Most especially if yung sinasabi natin, baka mamaya nandiyan sa loob ng kampo nila, hindi rin nila alam. So kailangan natin coordinate sa kanila para masabihan din tayo kung paano gagawin. Who will be in command and control kung sinong pumasok dyan. Kaya nga sabi natin, yung CCCH, magsusupervise yan ng mga operations. Yung ADJAG will try to situate that the procedure, the protocol is actually followed.
The ADJAG is optimistic that the continuous partnership between GPH, MILF forces is effective in anti-illegal drugs, anti-terrorism, anti-lawless operators, and the escalation of RIDO or clan feud. For People's Television Network, Rudolph Ian Alama, PIA Davao.
Former Makati Mayor Elenita Binay is confident that the Sandigan Bayan will grant her motion to travel abroad despite her pending cases on the malversation of public funds or property. The full details from Trixie Jafar.
Former Makati Mayor Dr. Elenita Binay attended the hearing of the Sandigan Bayan 4th Division for her motion for authority to travel filed last April 25, 2017. The Sandigan Bayan directed Elenita Binay's camp to submit a position paper within 5 days before the court shall render a resolution for the aforesaid motion. Indicated therein is the standpoint of an individual or group on certain issues or motion in a case. According to Elenita Binay, she is positive that the court will grant her motion to travel abroad. She added that it is not the first time that the Sandigan Bayan permitted her to go out of the country despite her pending case on the malversation of public funds or property.
Wala naman akong problema sa Sandigan no. Travel. Pinapayagan naman nila ako.
It can be recalled that former Vice President Jejomar Binay Sr. also filed the same motion, praying for the permission of the Sandigan Bayan to allow him to travel abroad with his wife and whole family. In case the court grants their motion, the Binay family will fly to Israel on May 15 to 29 for a religious pilgrimage.
Pilgrimage ito Pilgrimage to the Holy Land.
Meanwhile, the Sandigan Bayan 7th Division reset the arraignment of ex-Comelec Chair Benjamin Abalos for the graft case involving an anomalous purchase of 2 public service vehicles without undergoing a public bidding in 2003. Arraignment of Abalos is rescheduled on June 22, 2017. For PTV News, Trixie Jafar.
Environment Secretary Gina Lopez's firm advocacy against illegal mining and corruption has earned her another ally, as the Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption entered into an agreement to boost the battle against irregularities, not only at the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, but in all government offices as well. Julius de Zamborun has the details.
Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption and the Department of Environment and Natural Resources joined forces for one aim: to fight corruption not only in the agency but in the whole government, as this will show support for President Rodrigo Roa Duterte's clean and honest administration. VICC Chairman Dante Jimenez explains that this memorandum of agreement will not end only on paper but takes effect immediately, with the agreement duly signed by both parties.
We hope and pray those who are in the commissioner appointments will really look into her passion to protect our environment, to protect the natural resources that have been wasted because of what? Greediness.
This agreement will also focus on anomalies in the environmental sector, which includes illegal logging. VACC expresses support for Lopez and her programs, her fearless heart and burning passion to serve the Filipino nation by waging war against mining companies who destroy the environment. They said this is the right time for a responsible mining.
Nobody can do anything if we don't work together. And if I address the corruption, if you guys address the corruption, you will have done this country a huge favor, sir.
Ang VACC will be invited to join us in environmental crime task force activities.
On the other hand, the Secretary pushes for social justice and programs which protect natural resources like land, air, and water. She also pursues for the prohibition of open-pit mining in the country.
70% of the biodiversity na nakikita dito sa Pilipinas ay dito lang makakita. Endemic yan. So we're going to make sure that that endemicity, in fact, benefits our people. And then we have met in ADB German technology, which is able to transform agricultural waste into cement. Yeah, diba? No need to cut trees anymore. No need to kill our mountains.
Lopez also said that she talked to members of the National Democratic Front of the Philippines following the confirmation of the Philippine Government Peace Panel. According to her, the NDFP requested the DNR Secretary to join the next round of peace talks in the Netherlands next month. However, Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III clarified that Lopez should first get the green light from President Duterte before she could attend the talks. For PTV News, Julius de Zamboron.
ASEAN as a collective unit will never thrive at par with the Western world if it does not completely embrace the science behind the advances in technology. Toward this end, the Philippines is aggressively pushing for a more intense focus and action in space exploration for disaster risk reduction purposes. PTV's Kirby Cristobal has more.
The collaboration and talks are on the highest level between members of the ASEAN Committee on Science and Technology and the Department of Science and Technology over programs and projects of the DOST. This was confirmed during an interview with Secretary Fortunato de la Peña in celebration of the first year in orbit of the Philippines microsatellite Diwata-1 at the DOST Advanced Science and Technology Institute in Quezon City.
When we hold our ASEAN Committee on Science and Technology meetings, which will be soon also, not necessarily here in the Philippines, then this will be taken up. But we have already provided certain inputs on what the President, for example, can mention about science and technology.
The official added that in November last year, member state of ASEAN came up with an agreement that will benefit each country in line with the science and technology. De la Peña said that the agency is now also in the process of creating a space technology agency to monitor all natural and agricultural resources, hazards, national security, among others.
I think ang importante rito is that we have capability. Okay, and to me, it's not only the hardware, the all the sophisticated equipment that would be critical, but it's also the people who will be manning. At the moment, we only talk about aeronautics here in the Philippines, but you know, aerospace is something broader.
Meanwhile, upon marking the first year in orbit of Diwata-1, the Institute showed how the ground receiving system and Pedro facility captured images of the country's map. Also, through this modern technology, the department can easily disseminate information to the public on disaster risk reduction and management. In 2018, they are targeting to release another Philippine microsatellite named Diwata-2. For PTV News, Kirby Cristobal.
Municipal officials of a suburb south of the megacity are feverishly working to find a location to relocate permanently or, in the interim, displaced families left homeless by a fallen electrical transmission tower that recently laid fiery waste to its surroundings. The full story from PTV's Kim Feliciano.
NGCP's transmission tower is finally back up with an even sturdier foundation. And SLEX northbound lane, Alabang exit and viaduct are also back in business. However, the burnt belongings of the fire victims remain at the site of what over 50 families once called home.
Burnt clothes, wood, and all the other debris are what's left of what was a residential area at the foot of this transmission tower of NGCP. As you can see here, they have put up barricades along the vicinity and have put up barbed wires to keep people out, also for their own safety.
Still in shock and in state of disbelief, some of the previous residents still visit the site and reunite with their neighbors at the lot beside the burned site. Just like Marieta Rivas, who lived at the foot of NGCP's transmission tower for 15 years, who, although unhurt, was left with nothing but the clothes on her back. She said she still dreams of the place and longs to again live a happy life with her families and friends.
Mamimiss ko. Bisan hindi nga ako makatulog.
With this, the Muntinlupa municipality fears that their safety might be compromised if they return and squat again at the foot of the transmission site, since they have set out their best efforts to look for a new home for them.
Kahapon ang last day namin doon sa evac area. Pero binigyan sila kasi sa barangay yung area eh. So si kapitan na ang nagsabi na, yes, we will extend you for 2 days lang. Kaya hanggang tomorrow. So nakipag-bargain naman. So hanggang Friday, bukas. Nag-promise naman sila na may mahahanap sila. At yon yung pangalawang din pala, sa UPA, yung Urban Poor Affairs Office namin, tinitingnan din kung paano yung possibility sa mga pamilya na yan. Kasi nasa Muntinlupa din sila ng upahan. So may list din sila. So yung tinuturuan din sila paano mag-save para sa pabahay.
As of now, only 5 out of the 50 families remain at the evacuation center at the UP Side subdivision, of which the city government of Muntinlupa continues the aid in search for a new place to live. For PTV News, Kim Feliciano.
Julie Ubaldo's email presented the following facts. A neighbor borrowed money from them in the amount of 250,000 pesos, using his house as collateral. Julie and her husband handed the money to their neighbor with the agreement that the loan will be paid within 1 year. Thereafter, they learned that the house is not covered by a title. They wanted to get the money they loaned back, but their borrower had to return to the USA and promised that the amount he borrowed will be returned within the period they agreed upon. 2 years after, the borrower still refused to pay them the sum that they lent him. Julie wants to know what they can do. Julie, whenever properties are used as collaterals for loans, it is usually the practice to have such mortgage annotated at the back of the title. It is not clear to us whether you required that a title be presented to you. It was also not clear whether the loan was covered by an instrument. Just the same, you may recover the money you loaned by filing a complaint for recovery of sum of money before the proper regional trial court of the place where you are residing. Do get the assistance of a lawyer to help you prepare your complaint. Be reminded that our opinion is based solely on the information you provided us, and it may change depending on any additional information. You are free to consult a lawyer of your choice regarding your legal concerns. Email us at ptvbatas@gmail.com. Attorney JJ Jimeno Atienza for the Rule of Law.
In news overseas, in upstate New York, John Lundemo is making a living by making high-end swords. He carves each sword with a distinctive style of his own, a style he developed over the years. Inspiration for his creativity comes from different places, and as Faisal Masri tells us, that's what makes him a sword master. VOA's Faith Lapidus narrates.
Creating a sword is a very special moment for this man who loves swords. Whether it's forging or grinding or testing, John Lundemo enjoys each step of the process. As a creative maker, Lundemo has always been open to all kinds of influences and inspiration.
It's European looking, right? But it looks kind of Asian too at the same time. In fact, this pommel, the shape of this pommel, I got off the sword I saw in a movie called The Bride with White Hair.
Over time, he established his brand, Odin Blade. The price of these razor-sharp weapons that stretch up to 2 meters starts at $1,500. Online retailer Cult of Athena in Elgin, Illinois, sells swords from more than 30 makers. Store owner Ryan Whitlinger says the market for these historic replicas and high-end weapons is big.
People with a general historical interest, that's a big segment. There's also martial arts practitioners, people who practice both Asian martial arts and European Western martial arts.
Customers, sellers, and makers share the same interest and passion. Lundemo started making swords about 30 years ago. Practicing sword fighting with his brother is what got him interested in blade making.
I was always breaking the steel swords. I was breaking them all the time. You know, halfway through a sword fight and your sword breaks, it's annoying. So I started making them.
Some sword buyers are merely collectors. They like to display them on the wall. Sword fighting adventure movies and TV series continue to raise interest in buying swords. That keeps sword master John Lundemo busy, doing what he loves the most, making more swords.
For our sports tonight, Filipino 2 Division world champion is not taking his upcoming foe lightly. This was stressed by the Mercian native boxer as he aims for a 3rd Division crown this weekend. Dennis Principe with the report.
2 Division world champion Donny Ahas Nietes is wary of the possibility that he would be facing a highly inspired Thai opponent this weekend. The 34-year-old Nietes is set to battle fellow top contender Kombrich Nantanpech of Thailand in a 12-round face-off for the vacant International Boxing Federation World Flyweight belt Saturday night at the Waterfront Hotel in Cebu. Nietes said Nantanpech will most likely get a lot of inspiration from his Thai compatriot Srisaket Sor Rungvingsai, who scored a stunning decision win over pound-for-pound king Roman Gonzalez of Nicaragua last March in New York.
Anak nila, okay, siyempre kasi maganda pinakita niya. So, parang tumasok din sa isip ko na gusto ko din yung katulad na performance na magandang pinakita. So, talagang malaking tulong talaga yun.
Meantime, Nietes is not taking his opponent lightly despite the fact that 2 of his 3 losses ended in knockout against Alan's stablemate Albert Pagara and Zamboanga Bet Froilan Saludar.
Pero matagal yun, sir. Parang baguhan pa lang yun. So, sa mga nakita kong latest na fight niya, medyo magaling na talaga yung kalaban ko.
Nietes and Nantanpech are 2 top-rated fighters of the IBF in the flyweight class, which was recently vacated by another Filipino, Janrel Casimiro, who decided to move up in weight. The Nietes Nantanpech Seto will headline Ala Promotions' Pinoy Pride 40 Domination that will also feature up-and-coming Ala boxers Mark Magsayo, Gio Santissima, and Junrel Jimenez against tough foreign foes. Dennis Principe, PTV News.
After raking in more than 20 medals in Bangkok, Thailand, the management of the Philippine Karate-Do Federation is determined to work harder in their training and dominate the powerhouse teams of Southeast Asia. Kesun Sean has more of the story.
23 more medals have been added to the collection of the Philippine Typhoons Karate-Do team from the recently concluded 2017 Thailand Open Karate-Do Championship held in Walmart Indoor Stadium in Bangkok, Thailand. Faced with strong contenders from 18 Southeast Asian countries. 2 golds were harvested by Jamie Villegas from the individual kata junior male category and veteran campaigner Jason Makaalay from the Kumite under 60 kg male division, coupled with 7 more silvers and 14 bronze medals. In an interview with PTV Sports, Philippine Karate-Do Federation Secretary General Raymond Lee Reyes shared some of the programs laid out to further sharpen the skills of the karatekas before the 29th Southeast Asian Games in Kuala Lumpur on August.
We're planning to have a training camp. Tsaka iba-ibang klase may local camp tayo, which is yung ihintay lang namin gold signals for the Iba Zambales. And then after naman nun, yung Japan din na camp, hinintay na rin namin para nagre-ready ng team para dito sa mga event na to para mapataas pa yung level natin.
Reyes hopes that this will be a big help in leveling up the Pinoy karatekas to their foreign counterparts like Japan, Vietnam, and Thailand. For PTV News, Kay Asuncion.
With the passing of time, Palarong Pambansa athletes have slowly made names for themselves not only in the Philippines but in other countries as well. It was in the Palarong Pambansa where Pinoy world-class athletes came to be known, with the likes of Chifi Caligdong of the Ascals, El Mamuros and Lida de Vega in track and field, former tennis player and now popular sportscaster Diane Castillejo, actor and swimmer Enchong Di, volleyball star player Eliza Valdez, as well as several PBA stars like Danny Ildefonso, Willie Miller, Mark Barroca, and Samboy Lim.
In the headlines, President Rodrigo Duterte said he will not bring up the arbitral tribunal's decision giving the Philippines victory against China's expansive claims in the South China Sea during the ASEAN summit. The Philippines and Brunei have enhanced its diplomatic relations through the signing of 2 memorandum of understandings for improving musical and performing arts and development of the halal industry and halal products. President Rodrigo Duterte shrugged off the complaint filed against him at the International Criminal Court. The president reiterated that there are no state-sponsored killings in the country as the government exerts all its efforts to hold the uniformed men to be responsible when they are involved in these activities. To make the peace process more inclusive, Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process, Jesus Dureza, has created the IP Lumad Peace Table. During Peace Table conversations, IP leaders all over Mindanao will discuss issues and concerns of their respective groups.
Those were today's headline stories on PTV News. I'm Catherine Vital with Richmond Cruz and Charms Espina. Thank you and good evening.
Alamin ang iba't ibang paraan sa pagkukondisyon sa mga alagang sasabungin.
Ito po ang Taho, your ultimate game foul show.
The ASEAN enforces a rules-based community that ensures our people enjoy human rights and freedom. A community that adopts a comprehensive approach to security and resolves differences and disputes through peaceful means. The region recognizes and respects shared values, norms, and the fundamental principles which will make ASEAN more united and cohesive. The community aims to strengthen engagement with other external parties, as well as respond to global developments and the ever-changing demands of the international arena. The ASEAN, as powered by its member states, seeks to build and create a more conducive environment towards a progressive world. The ASEAN is an organization founded on August 8, 1967. It was built to promote cooperation in the socio-cultural, economic, and political security pillars of the region. The Philippines will assume chairmanship of ASEAN 2017, which also coincides with the 50th year of the regional community. As the chair, the Philippines champions positive change in the community to produce a unified voice in the world. 6 thematic priorities were laid down to outline what the community needs in achieving holistic growth and development. Several major elements, outcome documents, policies, and agenda make up each of the 6 thematic priorities. A people-oriented, people-centered ASEAN. The ASEAN community puts its citizens' welfare at the center of its priorities, where the rights are protected and their well-being recognized as the key to the region's progress. Peace and stability in the region. This thematic priority aims to uphold peaceful coexistence and regional cooperation among its member states. Maritime security and cooperation. This adheres to the rule of law for the peaceful resolution of disputes and the preservation and protection of maritime resources. Inclusive innovation-led growth. This will provide opportunities for business growth and will help improve regional capacity in responding to the demands of the global economy. Resilient ASEAN. This will cultivate a sustainable region that's prepared and responsive to disasters. And lastly, ASEAN, a model of regionalism, a global player. As one, the community aims to showcase its various capacities as a global player in the international arena. These 6 priorities will forge the future towards ASEAN's vision of an inclusive, united, and progressive community. As the past has united us, it is our promised future that will make us stronger. We are one ASEAN. This is our journey. This is our future. Together. ASEAN 2017. Partnering for change. Engaging the world.
susunod na programa ay rated G. Ito ay pwede sa lahat ng manonood.
Landslides, mud flows, monsoon, the deadly powerful typhoon that hit the Philippines, Myanmar, and Laos, and earthquakes. Natural disasters hit ASEAN countries one after another all year. In 2014, no less than 90 floods occur in ASEAN countries within the first 9 months. Apart from floods, a giant tsunami in 2004 changed the Asian map. 14 countries suffered minor tremors from the Indonesian tsunami. On record, between the year 2004 to 2014, 41.2% of natural disasters occurred in the Asia-Pacific. The tsunami that hit Indonesia is considered as one of the most tragic natural phenomena in the world. More than 230,000 lives from 14 countries perished. Thousands as far as Africa were reported missing, and over 500,000 were injured. To this day, half of Aceh is submerged by the sea.
Hati seorang ibu mana yang boleh terima kan? Anak kita baby lagi pergi tak ada kubur kan. Setiap ibu yang melahirkan anak nak tengok kalau mati ada kubur kan. Tapi anak saya tak tahu kubur dia kat mana. Tapi saya redha lah kalau Tuhan katakan tak Tuhan kan.
With any natural disaster, a sad story follows. According to ASEAN statistics from the year 2014, floods take up 57% of natural disasters that have hit its member countries. ASEAN countries are estimated to have suffered a total loss of $4 billion. Natural disasters destroy homes, infrastructure, and have a long-term crippling effect on the economy. Why do these disasters often occur in ASEAN countries? Southeast Asia is situated on tectonic plates, also known as the Earth's crust. Volcanic chains of active volcanoes trigger the movement of these plates, which causes these occurrences. The shifting of these tectonic plates between the Indian plate as well as the Burma plate produced tsunami waves that engulfed Aceh from all directions. An earthquake with a magnitude of 9.1 Richter scale occurred in the Indian Ocean west of the Sumatran Sea.
One ASEAN, one response. Jadi apabila ini kita sama-sama memberikan bantuan sekiranya mana-mana negara ahli menghadapi bencana.
With so many countries affected, a country affected by natural disasters face problems to coordinate and organize rescue missions.
With regard to ASEAN Emergency Response and Assessment Team, our center is also managing ASEAN Emergency Response and Assessment Team, or in short, ASEAN ERAT. The ASEAN ERAT is designed to quickly respond to a major sudden onset disaster within our region. They can be deployed in a very short time or notice to provide a fast, reliable, and collective response.
The ASEAN Coordinating Center for Humanitarian Assistance, otherwise known as the AHA Center, spring into action, coordinating humanitarian missions from ASEAN countries. On November 8, 2013, a day before Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines, the AHA Center made preparations on location. The ASEAN Emergency Rapid Assessment Teams, coordination teams, logistics, medics, and emergency responders from ASEAN member countries made their way to the Philippines immediately after the typhoon struck. The Philippine Islands are situated on the typhoon belt. This makes them at the center of the world's typhoons. Haiyan is the most powerful typhoon to ever occur in the Philippines, with a wind speed of up to 315 kilometers per hour. A large part of Visayas was destroyed, with thousands of deaths recorded in all 9 areas that were completely swept away.
After the typhoon, the Philippine government requested the technical assistance of JICA to conduct a study on the area to determine how will the government protect the area from future storm surge.
After a year of research, the Japan International Cooperation Agency, also known as JICA, suggested building a large breakwater to minimize the damages of typhoons. These structures are equipped with drainage systems that allow water to flow to the sea in the case of a flood. JICA also contributed to improve the early warning system for natural disasters. Besides the Philippines, JICA, through ASEAN, have contributed to early warning systems for other member countries. JICA shared resources and provided a grant, equipment, as well as machinery to ease the process of building flood prevention infrastructures for Cambodia, a country that is often hit by floods every year. Water that overflows from the riverbanks of the Mekong and Basak River take approximately 2 to 3 months to recede.
Japan and ASEAN both prone to natural disaster. So, disaster management and disaster prevention has been common challenges for Japan and ASEAN.
Just like other Asian countries, Japan has its fair share of natural disasters. An earthquake measuring 9 on the Richter scale struck Japan. It was the strongest quake to ever hit Japan and is recorded to be the 4th strongest in world history. The earthquake triggered waves as high as 40.5 meters, destroying 3 reactors at the Fukushima Daiichi power plant. The nuclear accident only made the situation worse for its citizens. The tsunami destroyed everything in its path. from Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia through the islands of Japan, making its way to Southeast Asia, all the way to New Zealand, is a line of active volcanoes in the Pacific Ring of Fire. Nothing can stop these natural disasters from occurring. It is a power buried under the ocean floor bed for millions of years that will strike when the time comes. This is the same for floods. Every year they occur, and it is all a phenomenon determined by nature. The efficiency of ASEAN and JICA in providing aid when a natural disaster occurs helps the nations affected towards a speedy recovery. Throughout the year, ASEAN nations have been standing side by side and supporting one another with every natural disaster that has struck. The loss of life and the destruction of the land will continue, especially in places with tropical climates like Southeast Asia. Although large-scale floods are rare, preparation for floods are constantly updated by Malaysia with the help of its regional partners. This is to avoid an economic slowdown which will affect ASEAN as a whole.
สปป.ลาวพวกเขานี่ก็ไม่ได้รับผลกระทบจากภัยพิบัตินี่อย่างหนักหน่วงเลยมีผลเสียหายหลาย
The frequency of natural disasters pose as a major challenge to some ASEAN countries, such as Laos, to build their economy as well as infrastructure. Restoring what is destroyed by these disasters take a lot of time.
เพราะว่าคือพอหูนี่รัฐบาลญี่ปุ่นนี่ให้การสนับสนุนเนาะในการจัดตั้งปฏิบัติสนธิสัญญาอาเซียนมาโดยการคุ้มครองและตอบโต้ต่อภัยพิบัตินี้อย่างต่างหน้าและแปลว่าในกรอบการร่วมมือระหว่างญี่ปุ่นกับอาเซียนนี้และแปลว่าเพิ่นก็ได้ให้การสนับสนุนแก่สปป.ลาวในหลายด้านทั้งหมดในการช่วยเหลือนี่ในผ่านมานี่ก็เป็น 1,600 ล้านเยน
And Japan has supported not only bilaterally the ASEAN countries for disaster management capacity building, but also extended our support to ASEAN as a whole in three aspects, mainly through AHA Center. We have funded the establishment of and management of the integrated ICT system in AHA Center for quicker information sharing and response, as well as the facilitation of collaborated rescue operation.
I'm pleased to share that we have a number of trained personnel as part of the ASEAN ERAT roster. In fact, our Brunei personnel have been deployed to Thailand flood in 2011, the Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines in 2013, as well as the flood in Myanmar in 2015.
Ishinomaki City, one of the areas that suffered a great loss during the 2011 tsunami, is situated on the coast of Miyagi. More than 3,000 people lost their lives and an estimated 20,000 homes were swept away. 5 years have gone by since that fateful tragedy. The lives of its residents have changed thanks to the upgrading of their information and communication system by the Japanese government.
そうですね、やっぱり、地震の後の情報というのはすごい大事で、今まではほとんど無線しかなかったんですが、最近では携帯でいろんなアラームとか、情報も入ってくるようになりましたので、そういうのもとても参考になるなというふうには思っています。私が住んでたところだと防災無線が、津波で倒れたりして情報が来なくなったりっていうのもあったようでしたので、また携帯も一方でアンテナも倒れて電波入らなくなったりっていうこともあったりする地域もあるので、やっぱり何個かその情報が入ってくるっていうのは必要だなというふうに思っています。
First of all, I'd like to emphasize, based on the experience of the Great East Japan earthquake in 2011, we realize that information is a lifeline to protect our lives. If we can convey correct information as soon as possible to people everywhere by utilizing various means, we will be able to save a lot of lives. I will introduce two ICT systems which are used for effective and efficient disaster risk reduction. First, we developed MDRU, which stands for Movable and Deployable ICT Resource Unit. MDRU is radio communication equipment, which can transport to areas attacked by disasters and restore communication network in the area quickly. ITU, MIC Japan and Philippines deployed the feasibility study, and we confirmed the effectiveness of MDRU. It would be appreciated if many countries consider the introduction of MDRU. Second, we would like to promote what we call L-Alert. Using this system, we can convey disaster information to various media quickly and accurately.
L-Alert is a system promoted by the Japanese government to transmit disaster information to residents as quickly and accurately to save as many residents as possible. Previously, when the disaster occurred, local governments had to individually provide disaster information to various media outlets, which took time to convey the information. Since June 2011, the Japanese government took full effort to implement the L-Alert system. L-Alert is the common ground system which claims to quickly and accurately convey disaster information to residents by gathering disaster information that local governments have issued and delivering such information to residents collectively through various media outlets such as TV, mobile phones, and the internet. Modern technology has become a saving grace for thousands of people who would potentially become victims of natural disasters. ASEAN and Japan share similar geography and geology. Both are prone to the same potential natural disasters. the cooperative ties that have formed since the establishment of ASEAN shines a new light to the thousands affected by natural disasters. Although the past cannot be erased, they are given new hope for the rest of their lives.
Southeast Asia, one of the most diverse regions in the world, home of 20% of the world's plants and animal species. The region covers a total land area of 4.46 million square kilometers, with almost 2 million square kilometers of various terrestrial bodies, making it a perfect haven for biological sites and species. Unfortunately, from 1980 to 2007, Southeast Asia lost almost 600 square kilometers of forests. Indeed, a disturbing development in biological resources. Thus, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations agreed on a comprehensive program to protect and restore our natural resources. 10 years ago, ASEAN established the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity, or ACB, to strengthen the capacity of the region to reduce the loss of biodiversity, promote sustainable use of biological resources, and fulfill their obligations to relevant multilateral environmental agreements. ACB is hosted by the Philippines and currently located at the University of the Philippines in Los Baños, Laguna.
ACB makes sure that the biodiversity resources that we have in the region is well maintained, that there is balance between conservation and economic development. We strive for people to be aware of the values of biodiversity and how it contributes to sustainable development and to human well-being.
The center also facilitates the conservation, protection, and preservation of the ASEAN Heritage Parks, or AHPs, in the 10 member states. AHPs are the selected and protected areas in the ASEAN region, which are known for their unique biodiversity and ecosystems. They are also aimed at preserving a complete spectrum of representative ecosystems in the region. As of 2015, there are 35 ASEAN Heritage Parks in the 10 ASEAN member states, of which 7 are in the Philippines. And one of them is found in the beautiful island of Mindoro. Mounts Iglit-Baco National Park covers an area of 75,445 hectares, located in the heart of Occidental Mindoro. The park encompasses at least 8 major river systems and has a rugged terrain composed of slopes, river gorges, plateaus and grasslands, making the place one of the most preferred trekking and hiking sites in the Philippines. Mount Iglit-Baco National Park may also be said to be a perfect example of a biological diversity haven.
Ang bahagi po ng Protected Area Office dito sa Iglit-Baco ay kakikitaan ng iba't ibang mga tinatawag nating endemic species. Mayroon pa tayo dito yung tinatawag nating warty pig o yung mga baboy damo na kakaiba kaysa sa baboy damo na makikita sa bahagi ng Luzon at Mindanao. Mayroon din dito yung Mindoro Taritic Hornbill at ganoon din ang isang mga halaman ay yung ating tinatawag na Mindoro Pines.
Aside from these endemic species, Mount Iglit-Baco National Park was also recognized as the home of the largest native terrestrial mammal in the Philippines, the endemic Mindoro dwarf buffalo, called the tamarao. As one of the rarest species in the country, the protection and preservation of the endangered tamarao is one of the most essential missions of the ACB. The good news is, the number of tamaraos has gradually improved from 382 registered in 2014 to 405 this year.
Noong hindi pa ito naging heritage site, ay hindi may pagkakailan na naging rampant yung tinatawag nating hunting sa loob ng protected area. Subalit nung ito ay may deklara na heritage park, ang kagandahan ay naging bukas ito sa publiko para magkaroon ng konserbatibo at saka responsableng kamalayan.
When Mount Iglit-Baco was recognized as an ASEAN Protected National Park, it was evident that the park was to be developed into a sanctuary. Plants and trees were protected, and animals, particularly the endemic ones, were given proper shelter. However, those primarily affected by the changes are the ethnic tribes living in the mountain. Generally, they are the Mangyans, but the tribes are divided into numerous ethnic minorities, and the largest among them is the Taubuid tribe.
Ang tribong Taubuid po ay sa simula pa dito na nakatira, dito na naumuhay sa Occidental Mindoro, na kung saan ang tribong Taubuid po ay may sariling wika, may sariling kultura, kaugalian, may sariling sistema sa pangangalaga ng samut-saring buhay ilang.
Tribal chieftain Fausto Noveloso says that the Taubuid embraces a very simple way of life, but their tribe has survived changes as they learn to adapt to modern ways, introduced by the Siganon or the non-tribe folks. These include changes suggested by the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity. Today, the tribe is now harmoniously adjusting to the regulations from ACB and the Department of Environment and Natural Resources.
Sa pagkaalam ng tribo, ang tamaraw o ang iglit ay sa tribo, pag-aari ng tribo. Kaya ang tribo ay nagtaka kung bakit pinasok ng ating gobyerno na maging national park. Naging gawain ko na lang po ay naging tagapamagitan na lang ako, tagapagpaliwanag sa aking tribo na wala namang masamang layunin, kundi bagkos kung ang ating gobyerno lang ang masunod, ayaw nga nilang patayin ayaw nga nilang kainin ng tamaraw, kundi alagaan at paramihin. Yun po yung pinapaliwanag ko sa aking tribo.
To maintain balance in decision-making for Mount Iglit-Baco National Park, the government provides seats for representatives of the ethnic groups in the council that administers the protection of the mountains.
Meron pong tatlong representative, tatlong kinatawan ang tribo ng Taubuid. Sapat na po yun upang maging malakas na boses sa bawat programa na nais ipasok sa loob ng protected area, yung boses ng katutubo sa pamagitan ng kanilang tatlong representative.
As our world continues to evolve, we must understand that our lives are always interconnected with nature. The ASEAN Heritage Parks, like Mount Iglit-Baco National Park, are our places to protect, places to conserve, places to nourish, and places to be proud of. Because they are our home.
Kaya ang sa akin, buong lupaing ninuno ng tribo dapat magkaisa na pangalagaan yung kanilang mga nasakupang likas yaman.
Balitang mapagkakatiwalaan. Todo arangkada hanggang Sabado ng gabi. Kasama si Rocky Ignacio, Ralph Obina, at Joseph Parafina. Sabado ng gabi sa inyong People's Television.
The ASEAN community is highly integrated, competitive, and innovative. The ASEAN aims to develop a regional economy that supports sustained high economic growth by increasing trade, investment, and job generation. The ability to respond to global trends and international standards enable the region to advance a single market agenda through a more seamless movement of investment, skilled labor, and deeper integration in trade and services. It is a community that promotes productive growth with enhanced micro, small, and medium enterprises that will make the region more competitive and dynamic. The ASEAN community shall have a more enhanced role and voice in addressing international economic issues in the global arena.
Yung tipong nasa labas ka, yan, addict yan. Agad discrimination yung binabagsakan mo. Kaya sa bahay pagbabago, in-encourage nila kami, tinuruan, paano makibagay sa iba.
Ang susunod na programa ay rated PG. Ito ay nangangailangan ng patnubay at gabay ng magulang para sa mga batang manonood.
Ang programang ito ay nagpapatuloy dahil sa inyong walang tigil na pagtangkilik, pananalangin at higit sa lahat, katapatan sa pagkakaloob. Maraming salamat po. Pagpalain kayo ng Diyos, ang ating Panginoong Hesukristo.
Jesus is our shield. Worldwide Ministry, Living Like Jesus, present. Oras ng Himala, Miracle After Miracle Explosion. Prepare to meet your God. Speaker, Apostle Renato D. Carillo.
Soul, are you weary and troubled? The light in the darkness to see. There's a light for a look at the Savior. Life more abundant and free. Philippines, are you weary and troubled? The light the darkness the sea. There's a light for a look at the Savior. Life more abundant and pray. Oh, turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in His wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of His glory and grace. His word shall not fail you, He promised. Believe Him and all will be well. Then go to a world that is dying. His perfect salvation to tell. His words shall not fail you, He promised. Believe Him and all will be well. And then go to a world that is dying. His perfect salvation to tell. But turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in His wonderful face, and the things of earth will go straightly dim in the light of His glory and grace. Oh, turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in His wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of His glory and grace.
Sino totoong apostol yung titingin lang na sinisira ng diablo yung church tapos mandato ko pa yan? Sino? Kinalimutan ko na nga lahat ng patungkol sa buhay ko eh. Magmula na ako'y maligtas eh. Tapos kung kailan matatapos na natin yung tungkol eh, susurrender ko pa? No way. No way. Ano nangyari ngayon sa mga fellowship nila? Lalo yung mga kapatiran natin, mga patron, awang-awa po kami ni nanay nandoon sa Mindanao. Nahirapan, mahal ang Lord, talaga naglilingkod ng gusto sa Bisayan, sa Luzon, iba na sa bundok. Umaasa ng support sa Amerikano, Koreano, at pag dumating Koreano, 10,000, yan na. Kukunan ng picture, kanya yung $150,000, $3,000, por yan pag pinadala. Galing Korea, para sa mga nangangailangan, 10,000 sa pastor, 140 sa kanya. Nakover na siya. Ikot-ikot lang po yan. Anong problema ron? Itong maling turo, maling pananaw. Hindi tinuruan niya yung mga tao magbigay para umangat yung kabuhayan. At pag umangat ang kabuhayan, may magtatayt, may mag-o-operate, may magagamit na sila ngayon. Hello? Mabibilis na sila. Dati nung puro itlog lang, palay, gulay. Ngayon may kas na. Kasi nabibenta na sa palengke. Nabibenta na yung mga kalamansi Yung mga sibuyas, bawang na yan. Isang ako ngayon, napunta ako ng Agusan del Sur San Francisco tsaka Trento. Nalibot ko yung bayan na yan. Sabi ko, ang dami ritong kalamansi. Kung ako titira rito at magpapastor, itong siyudad na to, gagawin ko itong kilalang siyudad sa buong mundo Daming kalamansi rito Napakaganda sa katawan yan. Ang daming pera ang ibibigay sa inyo yan. Wala, yung mga pastor doon, walang vision Yung ambisyon niya, humanap ng Koreano, humanap ng Amerikano, mag-solicit, humingi ng tulong sa hireling sa Amerika. $100 kapalit ng kalalawan niya, pati ng kongregasyon. Kita niyo yung kalokohan yan. Ba't di mo i-develop yung mga produkto na yan? Ba't di mo i-bless yan para dumami yan? Hindi mo turuan yung kongregasyon magbigay. Ba't di mo sila bigyan ng pagkaunawang i-market mo yan, dalhin mo sa palengke, export mo yan, ibaba mo sa Manila yan, ihatid mo sa Davao yan, baba mo sa Surigao yan. Iikot mo yan doon sa Miropa. Dalhin mo yan doon sa Romblon, sa Palawan. Dalhin mo yan doon sa Bicol, kung saan walang kalamansi sa Pilipinas. Ihatid mo yan, murang halaga para makakompetensya mo, pati yung mga local doon na nakatira mismo sa barangay, sa bayan, sa community, sa baryo, sa siyudad na yan. Walang imposible sa Diyos. Wala ang problema ng mga pastor at mga bishop dito, walang vision. Ang vision niya, mapapangasawa. Paano kami rito? Wala kami support galing Amerika. Kailangan tanggalin lahat itong ipapadala. It's all foolishness. Sabi ko kay nanay, alam mo, hektarya yung lupa rito, kukunin ko to. Gagawin ko tong church. Tatayuan ko to na school at lahat ng mga hindi nakakapag-aaral dito, papapasukin ko kahit walang maibayad. At kung may maibabayad, okay lang, minimal lang. Hindi tayo money maker para may maibayad tayo sa kuryente at ilaw, pero lahat ay dadalhin ko sa Lord. At ang goal ko, hindi sila yung maging matalino, kundi pumasok sa langit. Dapat ang lahat ng pastor, visionary to. Anong karapatan ng kulto magtayo ng kaharian niya? Ano? Ang gagawin na lang siya, i-criticize yung kulto. Walang may tutulong yun You have to do something. Don't surrender this country to anybody. Don't surrender your city to any cult, to any politician, to any billionaire. Because this country is owned by Jesus. Fight up to the end. If it costs your life, then so be it. Fight a good fight of faith. Run the race. Finish the course. Meron sa bayan mo. Bawang, mais. Walang pangit na product dyan. Kay locally made yan at hindi yan acceptable para dalhin sa international market. O pwede mo i-market yan dyan sa paligid ng mga bayan na yan. Maraming kababayan tayo, hindi kayang bumili ng mga international product, ng mga branded na yan. Ang kaya lang nila ay locally made. Diyan mo idalhin yung bawang mo, yung mais mo. Sa murang halaga, kakain sila. Masustansya pa yan. Kaya sa mga binibili mo dyan sa supermarket, puri ng Panginoon, kinulayan, may mga preservative, iba po dyan, lason yung preservative, formalin. Dapat malawak yung pananaw ng mga anak ng Diyos. Manok, itlog, purihin ng Panginoon, araw-araw mga tao kumakain yan. Sawa na mga Pilipino, lalo yung Metro Manila, sa mga manok na in-injection, ang gusto nila mga native. Yan dami yan sa bayan mo. Kaya hindi mataba, ibenta mo sa murang halaga. And then give to God. Bless God. Tingnan natin, pag di niya pinadami yan, kagaya ng ginawa niya kay Abraham, kay Isaac, kay Jacob. Talbos ng kamuti kangkong. Purihin ng Panginoon, sarap sa katawan yan. Ako nga lang, araw-araw kinakain ko saging. Patatas. Magkanin ako, very rare. Hindi, kaya kong kumain ng lahat ng pagkain sa buong mundo. Because God bless me. Tapos marami tinatanggihan to. Will you look to me please? Kayo po mga pastor, tamingin po kayo sa akin. Laki ng pag-ibig ko sa inyo eh. Sa church, sa bansang ito. Huwag niyo pong sabihin mahirap yung bayan niyo. Idilat niyo mata niyo, tingnan niyo, ang Diyos bubukusan niya yan. Makikita niyo po na walang bayan sa Pilipinas ang wala pong kayamanang ibinigay ang Diyos. Ang problema lang po, niloko po ng dyablo ang mamamayan sa bayan na yan mula sa namumuno, pati doon sa mga spiritual leader, yung mga bishop. At nagsama-sama sila ng confession. Kami yung ikawalo sa... yung baryo mo! Let thy kingdom come to this place and thy will be done in Jesus' name now! Tingnan natin pagka hindi nagtrabaho ang Diyos at nagpadala ng maraming anghel. Di ba yan ang prayer ni Jesus? Ang dami pa nagtuturo ng prayer ngayon. Puro shallow to lahat. Mamahal pa ng libro nito. Anong prayer ng Lord? Pray. Track. Bako-bako yun. Pataas. Stack up. Pati sundalong araw, pagka umulan, putik, lahat yan naglalakad. Nga nakarating ako minsan, sabi ko, hindi pwedeng ganito to. Puro negative naririnig ko. Kayo saksi. Nag-pray po tayo. Binilis natin ni reverse. So, ano nangyari? Sagutin niyo ako ngayon. Nung umuwi po ako, wala pang 1 taon, inispalto po siya. Alam nyo, po pwede ko pong ikwento sa inyo, buong Pilipinas na nilibot ko, mahirap yun. Nang dumating po ako, sumagana yan. Minsan lang ako dumalaw. Kayo pa, nakatira kayo riyan. Ang problema nga po kasi ngayon sa church, walang totoong alagad eh. Puro plastic. Nakakain na po kayo ng steak, tenderloin, sirloin. Bahala kayo kung medium rare yan o well done o bahala po kayo. Pero pagkakain ka ng steak, ang gusto po ng maraming kakain ng steak, lalo na yung pinaka-the best, yung pinakamalambot na klase ng baka. Kasi maraming baka eh. May high class, parang technology yan eh. May top of the line, may susunod on and on and on. Ayaw po ng mga steak lover na kumain ng ordinaryong baka. Ako alam ko kung yung baka, bago namatay, buhay pa eh. At alam ko kung the best yan, lalo si nanay. Isang tikim ko pa lang dyan, alam ko, top of the line to. Yung lambot niya, yung sweetness, yung purification process ng pagkain niya, so damandama mo. Bihira po ang tabaron. 99.9% ng steak na yan, yung meat, ay laman. Ang discipleship program po ngayon sa church, na malayo sa sinuturo ko at sinasabi ko sa inyong apostol na tumulad kay Kristo, ay puro taba. Ngayon pa lang po nila matatanggap ang purong karni at totoong steak. Ayun ang Panginoon. Pumunta kang Hong Kong, walang kalamansi. Pumunta kaming Cyprus, walang kalamansi. Pumunta kang Europe, walang kalamansi. Pumunta kang Amerika, walang kalamansi. Nagkakaroon lang po sila dyan pagka kumukuha sa Pilipinas. Hindi, sa bayan mo, nagkalat. Para makakain po ako doon ng nasisiyahan ako sa salad eh. Hanap ako ng mga lemon, green lemon, tinatawag na lime, pagkatapos merong dilaw. Ngayon kalamansi, citrus, wala. Tayo, nagkalat. Yung problema na maraming pastor nagsawa na siya ron. Hindi niya naintindihan, kayamanang ibinigay ng Diyos yan dyan. Dapat pagyamanin mo. Kung nakalimutan niya ng namumuno, no, public official, government official, ikaw hindi. Kasi ikaw talaga ang governor dyan, ikaw talaga ang congressman, ikaw talaga ang mayor, ikaw talaga yung may-ari niyan. Andi dito sa Pilipinas, ang magagandang palaisdaan. Bulacan, magsawa ka. Pangasinan. Dami-daming dagat sa La Union. Puro tourism po pinag-uusapan po kasi sa Pilipinas eh. Kailangan mag-import tayo ng Russian, Chinese, American. Kailangan i-market natin yung Puerto Galera, i-market natin yung El Nido, yung Palawan, yung Boracay. Wala po tayong against doon eh. Hindi lang po yan ang source ng income ng isang bayan at ng isang bansa. Kaya walang turismo. Pag yung natural resources mo, pinagyaman mo, naku, purihin ng Diyos, bless ang bansang yan. Iwaasa ka sa mga ito eh. Ba't yan, pagbagsak economy, hindi na nakakapunta ang Pilipinas. Pag wala ng trabaho roon sa mga bansang binanggit ko. Ito, araw-araw mga Pilipino kumakain. Pag nakarating dito yung mga foreigner, pag tinanong mo sila, do you enjoy the country? Yes. Oh, sa dami nang na-enjoy mo sa Pilipinas, ano yung talaga na-enjoy mo rito? Ang food, ang buko, ang kalamansi, ang gulay, sariwa, napakamura. Secondary lang po yung beach. Maraming pastor. Imbis na siya yung magbigay na magandang understanding sa mga nanunungkulan sa gobyerno, siya po yung dinoktrinahan, at diyan na pala yung biblical victory na ginawa ni Kristo sa cross. Sabi, it is finished. At yung power ng Diyos na nasa Kanya, in-stack up niya. Imbis na lumabas sa bibig niya, paid. Pero yung Panginoon, puro unbelief. Kinampihan niya pa yung diablo. Tapos sisisihin niya pa yung spiritual director. Kasi dito niya ako sinugo. Yung iba nandoon sa Europe. Ako nandito sa baryo. Hindi yung kayamanan. Wala sa Europe. Ang nandoon sa Europe, kasalanan. At ang pinapadala sa Europe, hindi tinatabla ng kasalanan. Patay sa sarili. Dahil kung may bishop at pastor na pupunta sa Europe, maniwala po kayo, galing kami riyan. Pupunta ka ng Europe, hindi na hawakan ng Diyos yung mata mo, yung isip mo, puso mo, tenga mo, wala ka pang isang araw dyan, marami ka nang i-repent. Talamak ang kasalanan dyan. Sa airport lang ay masusuka ka. Kaya ang pinapupunta sa mga bansang yan ay patay sa sarili. Hindi number 1 yung asawa niya, only 1. Pong bansa ang sasarap sa mangga ng Pilipinas. Saging. Wala nga silang marang doon. Dito magkano marang, napakasarap. Nagkaalat sa Mindanao, iba ginagawa nila mga batang laruan at nagbabatuhan na lang. Ito po yung mga healthy food. Ito po yung mga tinatawag kong miracle fruit, durian, langka, guyabano, mangustin, suha. Sinong bansa ang mayaman yan? Oh, Diyos ko, sagutin niyo ko maliban sa Pilipinas. Wala yung mga pastor, mga bishop, walang bisyo yun. Binulag ng diablo, dinayan, doon lang siya nakatingin sa, walang tay, walang opere, paano ako rito? Alis na ako, lilipat ako. Pag hindi ay binigay yung demand ko, magtatayo ko yung sarili ko. Anong bansa ang sasarap sa mga isda natin? Isda ng Antique, isda ng Kulase, isda ng Iloilo, isda ng Mindanao, Luzon, Visayas. O wala silang bangus doon. Punta ng Amerika, yung mga Amerikano ron nagkakamay, ano ulam bangus? Sawa na yung mga Amerikano ron sa Walmart, sa steak ni Uncle Sam. Sawa na po sila ron sa mga pagkain doon. Pumunta ka ron sa tindahan ng mga Pilipino, prosin yung mga bangus, puri pa isang buwan sa barko po yun. Prosin, pero sabi ng mga Amerikano, I like this. At maaari kayong tumawa. Hindi na intindihan ng mga Amerikano. Magmula na maipana sila kung ano bagoong. Pumunta ka doon sa tindahan ng mga Pilipino, ang daming bagoong galing Pangasinan, galing Negros, galing Visayas, Mindanao, iba ron eh, galing Tarlac, puri ng Panginoon. Sabi ng mga Amerikano, it's so tasty. Walang bisyo niya mga pastor. Minamaliit niya yung kayamanan na ginawa ng Diyos sa bayan na yan. Kung hindi mo mamahalin yung ginawa ng Diyos, binigay sa iyo dyan, ano pang ipapakatiwala ng Diyos sa iyo? Tatingin mo kaya kahit pumunta ka ng abroad, ng London, ng Europe, America, God will trust you? No. Blessing ay abot ka mayo, andyan lang nga sa tabi mo. Ang problema kung saan ka nakatingin. Doon po sa site. Doon nakatira mga intercessor. Bahay na nila yun eh. Wala kami ron eh. Na nagpapatsing yung mga full-time. Yung katabi namin, bakanting lote yun. Anong sabi ko nung pumunta ako dyan, nung tinatayo yung bahay na yan? Hanggang hindi ito ginagamit ng may-ari, okay naman, magpaalam tayo. Taniman natin. Tinanaman nila ng malunggay. Tinanaman nila ng talbos ng kamote, kalabasa, ng ampalaya, ng sitaw. Puri ng pangik. Alam ng lahat ng nandoon yan. Puro gulay. Mula sa wala yan. Yung mga bahay nyo, yan na nga yung kayamanang binigay ng Diyos yan, pagyayamanin mo lang eh.